Good morning. It's Wednesday, December 1st. Here we are in the home stretch of 2021. Good old month number 12, which is kind of odd because, Decem is actually Latin for 10. But where was I? Oh, yeah. Take a second to like and subscribe below. And then enjoy one more sample of the full World Watch show here on Top Story. They're talking about reviving a dead deal. In Vienna, Austria, nations gather, trying to bring Iran and the United States back to the negotiating table to revive a deal that President Obama signed, but President Trump walked away from. The 2015 accords were supposed to slow down Iran's nuclear ambitions. In return, sanctions against Iran were removed. In 2018, President Trump withdrew the U.S. from Obama's deal when it became clear that Iran was cheating, pursuing the development of nuclear weapons instead of a peaceful use of nuclear power. Iran's promise in the original accord was to enrich uranium, only to a low level far below the 90% purity needed for weapons. Iran most recently achieved 60% purity. With President Trump's withdrawal came the return of sanctions, and those have been hitting Iranians at home.
Now the prices are unaffordable. Today, if you want to buy eggs, there are sanctions. If you want to buy bread, there are sanctions. I hope the sanctions will be lifted.
President Biden was vice president when the nuclear deal was struck, and he cautiously favors talking again. Barbados has ditched Britain's Queen Elizabeth as its head of state, becoming the world's newest republic and replacing the Queen Mother with the island's first ever president.
And with firm resolve and in one voice, from this day and forever, declare Barbados a parliamentary republic.
With a 21-gun salute and the national anthem, one island nation cut its remaining ties to another. Barbados was among more than a dozen countries that still hold the Queen as their official head of state. English ships first arrived at the Caribbean island 4 centuries ago, claiming it for England's King James I in 1625. Tuesday, 55 years to the day since it declared independence, Barbados took this final step. Britain's Prince Charles was on hand to celebrate, but also to acknowledge wrongs that occurred during colonial times.
From the darkest days of our past and the appalling atrocity of slavery, which forever stains our history,
Barbados will continue as part of what's known as the Commonwealth. That's 54 nations across Africa, Asia, the Americas, and Europe, almost all of which were formerly part of the British Empire. We reported a week ago that schools in New Delhi, India had closed due to air pollution. This week, kids have been cleared to go back to school, but still not in clear air. Even with coal plants and construction projects temporarily restricted, the air quality is still horrendous. Measurements show dangerous concentrations of air particle levels that are bad enough to cause chronic lung and heart disease.
It's not gone fully with the air pollution. My children keep getting cough and cold a lot, and they have difficulty breathing. Us adults are helpless because we have to step out for work.
India's air pollution has long been a problem for more than just people. Known as one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Taj Mahal has stood since the early 17th century as a tomb and symbol of ancient love. The Emperor Shah Jahan built it for his favorite wife, Mumtaz Mahal. Over the years, India's air pollution turned its gleaming white marbled walls into a dingy brown, requiring a heroic cleaning effort to restore its beauty. But smog hasn't stopped one man from completing his own Taj Mahal. And like the historic emperor, Anand Prakash Chowksi also built his 1/3 size Taj for the love of his life, his wife. Chowksi says in such divisive times, the world needs a symbol of love now more than ever.
This white-colored structure is a symbol of peace, a symbol of brotherhood and a symbol of love, to promote peace, love and unity among the people.
What is the gospel? Be ready to give an answer to one of the most important questions of your faith. Register now for the renowned youth conference at Boyce College.
If you're using a computer and then suddenly the screen looks like this, That's bad news. You've got a computer bug. Hannah Harris explains where that expression originated in today's What in the World?
Back in the 1870s, Thomas Edison wrote about bugs in his engineering projects. Technical problems that he'd have to debug or fix. Those were figurative bugs. In 1947, Harvard scientists were using a computer when it started glitching. They looked inside the hardware of the machine and found a moth. It had gotten stuck and messed up the circuits. The team had discovered the world's first actual computer bug. Once they removed the insect, they got the computer up and running again. They had successfully debugged the machine. They taped the moth in their logbook, for posterity, of course. Today, the term bug refers to any tech problem, even if there isn't a literal Lepidoptera stuck in the machine. On that Harvard team was a brilliant woman named Grace Hopper. Nicknamed Amazing Grace, she was one of the world's first computer programmers. Hopper helped teach computers how to speak English instead of communicating only in ones and zeros. That language was called Flowmatic, and it was later used to develop a common business-oriented language, or COBOL, which is still in use. The project earned her another nickname, Grandma COBOL. And Hopper went by one more title, Rear Admiral. She had served in the US Navy and worked to standardize the Navy's computer languages. When she retired at the age of 79, she was the oldest officer on active US naval duty. Hopper became the first female recipient of the National Medal of Technology in 1991. And in 2016, she was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And now you know the story behind another word. Maybe you've got a few that have been bugging you, so bring them on and we'll take a look.
What in the Word? How many of you would spend your weekend at the opera? Reporter Kayla Bailey says Chinese opera is starting to attract younger audiences.
Brian, the actors in Shanghai's Peking Opera troupe are bringing new energy to an ancient performance art.
Society these days is very restless. The rhythm is too fast. But opera has a slower pace. As soon as you walk into the theater and put down your phone, you can become immersed in it.
We can trace the origins of Chinese opera back to the year 712 of the Tang Dynasty, the year that Emperor Xuanzong created the first national performance academy called the Pear Garden. At first, much of the singing and drama style came from northern China, but from the 1600s to the 1900s, melodies from the south began to find their way into performances. Many traditional Chinese operas would use what are known as tropes, storytelling devices. They showed up in characters in every production. Some common tropes are Shang, the man, Dan, the woman, Hua, the painted face, and Chow, the clown. In the 13th century, the shows introduced the most widely spoken dialect, Mandarin, which meant that the lower uneducated class of people could understand and enjoy the operas. Here, the actors perform a classic opera called The Royal Consort of Tang. Brightly colored costumes represent qualities of the characters and hint at story themes. In Chinese art, color communicates a lot. Red is positive. Blue symbolizes courage but can also represent psychic abilities, so if you see someone is wearing blue in a Chinese opera, you may want to pay attention to their predictions. And green might be a sign of unpredictable behavior.
You notice that opera is not so difficult to understand, and it doesn't make people confused. And newer operas include more and more modern elements, which are better received by a younger audience.
It all looks really fun. Who knows, I might add opera tickets to my Christmas wish list.
The curtain has closed on the life of composer and lyricist Stephen Sondheim. He died at the age of 91 at his home in Roxbury, Connecticut. Sondheim was famous for his work on hit musicals like Into the Woods and West Side Story. Actors and musicians in New York City turned out to celebrate his life in a fashion he probably would have appreciated. Hundreds in Times Square singing the composer's tunes as a tribute.
As we grieve the loss of one of the great masters of all time, what else can we do but to celebrate him with his music?
Sondheim had a decorated career, picking up 8 Tony Awards and 8 Grammy Awards. He wrote songs for the stage, but many of his compositions have found their way into movies, and some of his entire musicals have been adapted to film as well. You know how it goes. You start with a single string of lights, and then you get a little carried away. And before you know it, you've got 70,000 bulbs blinking and glowing. Well, that's how owners of this brilliant house in Germany say it started years ago. That's going to attract a crowd, which is fine with the friendly couple, who not only put on a fantastic light show, but also invite visitors to enjoy sausages, lemonade, and other treats. Any donations are given to organizations that help animals. I wonder if that includes Rudolph, you know, to light up his nose. Make sure to check out the full site at worldwatch.news. You can try out the show free for a month. I'm the Big Bash. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, whatever the news, the purpose of the Lord will stand.
Grab the end. I'm trying to grab this end. Get off me.
It needs to go.
Why would it go around me?